What is good, everyone? Shoobs here. Today we are taking a look at a switch that really piqued my interest. You guys already know how big of a black cherry pie simp I am, especially on the spacebar. I've been making these damn switches since like 2020. So when I heard that BSUN, the guys that have been killing it with the stock switches recently, came out with some to mimic them, I was sold. These are the new BSUN BCPs designed by NandLKeys. Shout out to NandLKeys for sending them out to me. Use code SHOOPS for a small discount and to help me out, by the way.
Tell them to bring me my money.
So these switches feature a long modified POM S9 stem, a full nylon PA66 housing, elongated 57 gram bottom out spring, which is also available in 47 grams and comes pre-lubed from the factory. And like many other BSUN switches, the lube job on here, very good. It's basically as good as hand lubed switches. They really are that great stock. However, if you really want to lube them yourself, I know that NandLKeys offered unlubed versions as well, and these switches are going to run you around 55 cents per switch. Now, the original BCPs, or black cherry pies, if you guys didn't know, were made from a cherry top, H1 bottom. H1s are JWK manufactured switches with nylon bottoms, and a cream stem. This right here is a very expensive switch, going for around $1.50 per switch, and idiots like me swear by it for its sound and feel. I especially like it in my spacebars. As you can tell, I've been using a BCP spacebars on basically all my builds and videos for years now. I want to note though that over the years there have been different ways to build the black cherry pie, many being more budget oriented than the original. I think one of the most popular and cheapest variations of the build for the switch would be a cherry top, J-wick bottom with a kale black or red stem. But even with that cheaper option, it would be well over $1 for a switch. So in this video, I'll be testing these new BSUN BCPs, which cost like 1/3 against the original, as well as some other popular switches, including different long pole Franken switch variants. Looking at the length of the stems of these switches, we can see that the BSUN BCP stems are around the same length as the Kale Creams and the Kale Reds, while the Zakus are a bit longer. And yeah, they are pretty long boys compared to regular stems though. Welcome to another Scuffed stem wobble test. Please keep in mind that this won't be very accurate due to batch and switch variants. So these new BSUN BCPs, a bit of wobble, but overall they're pretty tight. Cherry MX Blacks, a bit of wobbles. I like filming cherries. The BSUN Flower Shadow Garden Wizard Money Gangs, they're pretty tight. Epsilons, pretty tight. Meteor Whites, also pretty tight. Cat Inks are a bit wobbly, and the Zakus are decently tight as well. So for the sound test, please keep in mind that sound tests are not very accurate. Everyone's setup, desk setup, mic setup, room setup, and recording equipment is different, so just take this with a grain of salt. What I say here is of my own opinion, and your opinions might differ. So I'm gonna start with my general thoughts on the Switch, then go more into the comparison to the original BCPs. So for the smoothness of these switches, these are really great stock. Like any of the new BSUN switches that I've tried, these things definitely sound and feel hand lubed right out of the box. One of the best. I did try to lube them myself, and I do think there is a slightly deeper tone, but that might just be from over lubing. But for the smoothness and whatnot, there really wasn't much effect, and in some cases it made it less smooth. I don't really see too much benefit in taking your time to lube them yourself, but that's mostly because I'm lazy. Now for the sound of these switches, they definitely have quite a deep sound profile along with the louder signature bottom out that long poles have. It's a very nice sound profile overall, in my opinion. With that out of the way, let's get to the good old brain rot. So, how are these switches compared to the big money originals? Drum roll, please. They aren't exactly the same. Well, it was expected, especially with how manufacturer differences and variances like, but these are pretty damn close. Probably the closest to BCPs out of the other switches that I've tried outside of the Franken switch realm. Now, the closest to the original BCPs out of variants would be the budget version, the cherry top J-Wick bottom and kale black stem version. However, that is still a Franken switch and is still pretty damn expensive. And from a long list of switches that I've tried that are stock, these probably come the closest. And for 55 cents a switch compared to $1.50, it is a pretty enticing offer. So with that said, let's go a bit deeper into the key differences as well as similarities that I personally think is like between these two. So starting with the sound, they both have that deeper, louder thud with the long pole switches and full nylon construction. However, I found that the original BCPs have a slightly deeper sound, while these new BCPs were louder but slightly higher pitched. For the actual feel of the switch, both are pretty smooth, but the BSUN is definitely smoother in general. However, for the original Black Cherry Pies, there will be a lot of variation because of the different parts. Like, for example, some of my BCPs that I built with some godly broken in cream stems, sent courtesy of Bachoo, who definitely didn't chain his brother to use stock creams for years. Those ones are beyond smooth, while most in general are not as smooth. As for the bottom out feel, the BSUNs to me feel like there's a slightly shorter pre-travel distance before bottoming out. This might just be in my head as I don't have exact calculations or anything, but when I'm going like this, I definitely feel like this one is bottoming out just a tad bit quicker. It is also bottoming out a lot louder and a lot harder as well. Overall, these BSUN BCPs are very similar to the originals, especially when inside a keyboard, you probably wouldn't be able to completely tell them apart without going full nerd and listening super close or right next to it in the ear in person or something like that, but I highly doubt it. But in hand, there is some different aspects that are quite apparent. Finally, all in all, what is my final take on these? They may not completely be one of one, and there are some slight differences. However, these are great stock and are very, very similar for a much cheaper price from the original Franken switches. If you're interested in a very deep switch with a hard and fast bottom out and want something that feels super similar to Black Cherry Pies, I can give these a very big thumbs up of approval. Will I be replacing my usual Black Cherry Pie spacebar with these? Probably not, since I already wasted money on making a big batch of these Franken switches back in the day. However, if I ever run out and want to save money, these would definitely be a good choice. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check out Reborn as a Vending Machine. I'm just kidding. Check out The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again today. It's a slice of life anime about a literal giant cat basically being the GOAT. It's a super comfy show.